Okay, we're out of time, Steve. I'm going to throw this last one in there. But Becca asks, how do you keep from wavering in your faith when God told you to do something? How do you have confidence that you'll be successful in doing it when everything in it gets you afraid? Everything in you gets afraid.
Well, Becca, there is this passage in Psalm 119 that I really like. And it's in verse 49. And it's verse 49 and 50. It says, "Remember the word to your servant upon which you have caused me to hope. This is my comfort in my affliction, for your word has given me life." It goes on, it says, "The proud have me in great derision, yet I do not turn aside from your law. I remembered your judgments of old, O Lord, and have comforted myself." And the passage goes on. But that whole thing with, remember the word to your servant upon which you have caused me to hope. It's my comfort in my affliction, for your word has given me life. One of the things that happens when I get into an issue where I start questioning whether or not God has said something to me is because I'm not remembering what he said to me. And so one of the things I like the Lord to do for me is give me a passage that is kind of concrete for me. And so I like it when God speaks to me through the Bible, because when I'm in the middle of a trial or some situation that makes it look like maybe I've heard wrong or whatever, I can go right back to the passage and I remember what God said to me. I remember how I felt when he told me that. I remember all the circumstances behind it, and it causes me to hope. And so basically that's what it gets right down to. Now, I don't have to have that all the time. There are times when God has just told me to do something, and he's made it clear that it's him speaking. And one of the things that I recognize with the Lord is that he can do anything that he wants to, and he is the one who's in control of everything. He can overrule anything that's going on this planet, and if he's told me to do something, then I can expect that it's going to succeed in the thing that he's told me to do. Not necessarily that I'm going to be a success, but whatever God wants done in this situation is what's going to take place. And so I just keep that in mind. The other thing that you asked is, how do you keep from wavering in your faith when God has told you to do something? And you're talking about confidence that you'll be successful when you get afraid. Usually when I'm afraid, I'm not afraid of the circumstances necessarily. I'm afraid of the people. That's usually what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of what they're going to say. I'm afraid of what they're going to do. I'm afraid of losing my popularity. I'm afraid of having people trash me behind my back. I'm afraid of all that kind of stuff. And in Matthew 10, that would be a good passage to go through and read, Becca. In Matthew chapter 10, Jesus talks about the fact that we're not to fear men. But if you're going to be afraid of somebody, Jesus said, don't be afraid of people who can destroy your body. But if you're going to be afraid of somebody, be afraid of the one who can destroy both body and soul and throw you into hell. And the point being that if you're going to be afraid of somebody, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me to be afraid of Matt if it's a choice between Matt and the Lord. I need to be afraid of the Lord. But then he goes on and he says, but better yet, and I threw the better yet in there. He goes on and talks about the fact that God loves us and he's intimately concerned with everything that we're going through. Even the hairs on our head are numbered, and he talks about the birds of the air and the flowers of the field, and how God takes care of those things, and that I'm worth more than many sparrows. And so ultimately, when I look at the whole situation where I'm falling my faith or starting to worry about something, usually it's because of fear of man. And so this is the process I go through. I can either be afraid of this guy who's going to say these things about me or do these things to me, or I need to fear God. And right then it squares me away. I need to be more worried about what Jesus thinks about this than what this dude in front of me thinks about this. And then secondly, I go right to the next part of that passage, and I recognize that God's got my back. He's got me covered. And I may go through some hard times in standing up for the things that God's told me to stand up for, but I need to recognize that ultimately I'm going to be hearing the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord." I can trust that Jesus has got me there, and He gets me through all this stuff anyway. So,
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, Becca. Thanks for posting today. Hopefully that helps.
Matthew 10, Becca.